Hey, we're back. We did it. That was very smooth, Manny. Hey, hello and welcome to another episode of Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with sculptors, carvers, and multi-talented artists from around the world. If you're a fan of the show and you like what we do, please give us a follow on the platform that you're watching us on and let us know in the comments where you're watching us from. My name's Paul Dever. I'm an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. And with me always is my co-host and good buddy, sculptor and artist from Tucson, Arizona, Matt Harper.
Buenos dias. Hello. Good to see you.
Tonight, our guest is a two-time Emmy Award-winning makeup artist for both movie and television. He's the founder and publisher of Makeup Artist Magazine and the executive producer of IMATS, the International Makeup Artists Trade Show. His amazing work can be seen in Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Generation, Star Trek Voyager. It's a lot of Star Trek, Michael. That's crazy. Jesus. Batman and Robin, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Planet of the Apes, The 13th Warrior, just to name a few. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Michael Key.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man.
Fellas, this evening.
I can't wait to hear the story behind this photo, by the way. It's amazing.
I know. I got lots of questions. So this one especially. This is going to be fun.
So, as the show goes, we take a carving challenge. So at this point, early on in the show, we like to take a look back at what we did last week. So last week's challenge for us was an emaciated ghoul. Mm-hmm. So Maddie, what do we got here? Let's look at you first.
A little tiny sneak peek, a little teaser a second ago, but oh wait, that's me. That's the wrong direction. Let's go this way. That is my emaciated ghoul. It started as a nice butternut squash, and the nice part was on this one I was able to, because I cut out and put ears on the back, and I took some of the sinew around the seeds and made that into his his ghoul hair, I guess we call it. That was a fun one.
I loved it because you and I have had some time off during our little summer break from between season 3 and season 4. So I had put the tools away for a while. So when you busted this out the day before me, I was like, oh, Jesus, I got to get busy. I think it came out great. Smooth, real smooth.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, and this is a little tip for you, Michael, when you start carving squash. Just these scouring pads and just a little elbow grease, and you can get all the little tool marks, or a lot of them out, and just kind of in that way it looks a little bit more flesh-like, or whatever effect you want. But yeah, that was an extra half hour of just scrubbing that thing. I'm sure I'm probably the only person who goes to the produce aisle and eyeballs one of these things, and it just never eats it, but just
now I've never tried to sculpt in squash. I have tried a pumpkin or two. I do find they start to, like an apple, it starts to get like brown and it starts to discolor in places. The squash, is that the same?
No, butternuts. If they made butternut squash the size of pumpkins, I'd never carve a pumpkin. Butternut squash is like a hard monster clay or something. It's consistent all the way through. It's got a small seed cavity, so they're always shaped like a bell, right? Yeah. So the seed cavity is in the larger part, but this whole section is solid. So you can carve, and it stays consistent the entire time. There's no change in the material. Yeah. It really is the $1 million idea. If you guys could start doing makeup effects with butternut squash, I mean, come on.
The possibilities. Oh my God.
Well, from Lord of the Rings, I think they sculpted in butter or something like that. They were doing, because in New Zealand, they weren't up to speed back then in the early days of what they were doing. And they were putting stuff in the freezer and then sculpting later. So who knows, maybe they'll do the butternut squash thing.
It's an idea who's Chinese. Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at what I did. Let's get that out of the way. Trying to shake off the rust there.
Oh,
I love it.
Here's some attitude.
Yeah. This guy's got, I love what you did with the nose. I thought that was ridiculous because you got the cartilage, you got the skin peeling back. That was really good. Well, mine's more of like cartoony. This one is almost like it's creepy.
Well, I'd say he's definitely cartoony. I really don't have a choice. Whatever comes out of the brain usually is kind of cartoony, but it just kept emaciated. So I had to keep scraping away. He's like, look, he's got chubby cheeks, got to get rid of that. And then I was like, well, if he's emaciated, he's dehydrated. If he's dehydrated, his nose is going to be all banged up and sunken in.
The lips,
as you do. So Not bad for first one. We have many more to carve this season.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, he'd be a good before candidate for a moisturizer commercial. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what I should have done. Is I should have carved him like normal, and then emaciated him, and then reversed the carve.
Yeah. And watch him like lose weight. That'd be great.
Like, do you use Neutrogena? Why, yes, I do. It plumps me right up. All right. So speaking of carving and challenges, Michael, we'd like to introduce you to the third member of Carvers and Creators. This is going to be the thing that's responsible for our carving challenge tonight. It is the spinner, the center spinner, the Hello Wheel. It's the reason we have anxiety for the first 15 minutes of every show, is waiting to see what this thing's going to spit out. So I'm going to spin it twice. The first spin will be the character. The second spin will be the attribute or emotion to which we have to apply to the character. So this week's choices are Hillbilly, Skull, Guest Choice, so have one ready, Undead, Hag, The Thing, inspired by the movie, Alien, Classic Monster, Voodoo, Fishman. I don't know where Fishman came from, but I swear to God, it's going to bite me in the ass at some point.
That's scary.
It really is. Okay, second spin. Distraught, Shocked. Guest choice once again. Crazy, Robust, Excited, Furious, Sad, Trauma, and we have emaciated one more time, but we will do a respin if we hit that, because I'm not doing an emaciated Fishman. Not happening. All right, so that's what's going to land on. You know this.
Yeah, you know it, yeah.
All right, boys, here we go. Spin number one. Alien.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay. And our alien will be yes, a robust alien.
That can go so many different ways.
Oh
yes,
my goodness.
It can. Well, usually when I'm happy, that's when things go bad.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Like, oh, I don't have a great idea anymore. Oh, I fell over.
Wow.
All right, so while we're getting our tools together and everybody carving along with us gets their tools together, this is the point in the show where we like to see what everybody's consuming tonight for their carving oil, because we don't want any carpal tunnel getting in the way. You need to lube the joints. So, Maddie, let's start with you. What's your carving oil this evening?
Well, in honor of our guest, who I know is an aficionado of these of cocktails, I poured myself a Bullet Old Fashioned with 2 Luxardo cherries in the bottom there, in a nice tumbler with not a rock, but a few rocks. I'll put it that way. But so I'm hoping this is as good as it sounds.
Ooh, very nice, Michael. What do you got?
What have I got? I have. This is called a Zach Special, and it was made for me by a bartender named Zach, who's mixed for me many times. I said, Zach, you know what I like. You know my palate. Make me something. Maybe something that's like with Sheena liqueur, something based on that. And so he came up with this in this trusty makeup artist magazine Rocks glass.
Beautiful.
And so it has bourbon. It obviously has Sheena liqueur. It also has a nocino, which is a walnut liqueur.
Whoa. And
some orange bitters. What am I missing? Am I leaving out? I brought it with me just so I could remember. Oh, and of course the bourbon, the ounce and a half of bourbon that's in it. And at the very end, you do a floater. After it's all mixed and it's in the glass, you do a floater with just a bar spoon of Rittenhouse rye on the top.
Oh. Now
it takes longer to make the drink than to drink the drink.
No, not that. Of course, we got a nice king cube. I don't know if you can see the king cube in there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
okay.
Get close in there.
Oh, nice.
Nice big cube to so that it melts slowly but keeps your drink cold.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
What are you drinking, Paul?
Well, yeah, it's I too have a custom glass that I just customized. But in honor of you on the show from our first meeting at Monster Palooza a couple of years ago, and you told us about the Black Manhattan, I too will be having a Black Manhattan in your honor. Pay no attention to the nuclear colored cherries. I could not find the right cherries.
Yeah.
I think I saw those on Roger Rabbit or something. Those are kind of cherries. Now Matt's got good cherries. Matt, hold up your drink again there.
Yeah, they're kind of at the bottom now, but they're the Luxardo cherries.
The Luxardo cherries. There we go. That's savvy.
The sad reality of it is, you pay $15 for a little tiny jar of cherries, and you might as well enjoy them one at a time. And
you know what? You guys won't make fun of my cherries anymore. I'm getting rid of them.
There you go.
They're gone.
See, they absorbed some of the whiskey though.
Very well preserved now with that thing.
Well, cheers.
Oh yeah, I'm like a Twinkie now. I'm just gonna last forever because of this. So cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.
Michael, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, I'm honored to be here and hang with you guys. It's fun. Been checking out your show, and I've never seen anything quite like it. This is a very unique show that you're doing on YouTube. Sculpting while talking to people
and having a beverage,
and having a beverage.
Never discount the old having a beverage. That always helps. Yeah. So, because this is your hour, let's start at the beginning, because I always love to hear how you fell in love with it all. That's what I want to know.
Well, there's a very young me, and that's me doing my Wolfman. Wolfman was one of my favorite of the famous monsters of filmland, sort of universal monsters. I like, a lot of people are like the Frankenstein or Dracula or whatnot. The Wolfman was my guy. But the thing is, I was really not happy with companies, even when I was younger, half that age, about companies that would make costumes for kids. I'm old enough to remember this thing, like you go to your here, I'm gonna really date myself. It would be like White Front or one of those places in LA, and they got all the nylon costumes are sculpted, or sewn together with a vacuform mask.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And when I was 4 years old, I wanted to go as the Frankenstein monster, and so folks bought me that costume. And I was, okay, here's the vacuform thing, and that's one deal. But the costume had this thing that had like a glow-in-the-dark picture of the monster. I think it was a Glenn Strange version of the monster on the chest, and it said Frankenstein on it. And I thought, well, this is lame. I don't know if that was the words I used, but I was going, the Frankenstein monster doesn't have a picture of himself on his chest. He's got a black shirt with a, like a coat on, sport coat on top. And I just I've always been perturbed at people that make things for kids, at their apathy. It's like, oh, the kids, just make this for the little bastard. They'll be all right. And probably most of the kids are, but I wasn't. So what you see there is I've taken the Wolfman vacuform mask and I've cut out the funky looking, bad painted the Wolfman that's on there, and just kept his hair, his facial hair. And that's me trying to modify with my funky widow's peak that I formed there. Perfect. So you can see at an early age, I was very taken with Universal Monsters. In fact, Forey Ackerman, the publisher of Famous Monsters, he had his magazine out there, and I liked that. I was wanting that, and the adults, my grandmother and parents or whatnot, they were very concerned that young Michael was interested in this very questionable material or whatnot. Why did I want such a thing? But and of course, in the back of that magazine, there were picture of masks, or not pictures. I would say there were advertisements for masks, and I just thought, wow, how cool would it be to have a Planet of the Apes mask or any of those things? That would be like shoot the moon. But I grew up loving science fiction, and it was an interesting time in the 60s where there was just a lot of shows that were out there with all these different kind of ideas. And Star Trek was my favorite TV show of the bunch. I liked that one, but I also liked Land of the Giants was a fave. What's at the Bottom of the Sea, the Batman TV show, all that stuff that was there. Things that were time travel or spaceships or anything like that were very, those resonated with me quite a bit. So in the early days, I was trying. In fact, I tried to do a Planet of the Apes makeup once where I took some paper and cut and tape to try to make the muzzle.
Nice.
Take Play-Doh, because Play-Doh's kind of flesh colored. and trying to spread it across that to see if I could do that, maybe blend it onto my face. It was an unsuccessful attempt, but you can see the early days of me thinking about how can I do, how can I replicate this with a better makeup? Loved props. In fact, instead of ended up in the makeup side, I could have done props. Yeah, here's a picture of a Zenith commercial I did where they asked me to recreate the great Stuart Freeborn's early man makeups and these suits from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
We shot that out in the kind of near Joshua Tree. And so, we created those. In fact, half of those guys were background players on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Oh, no way.
They played Ferengis, because they had smaller guys playing Ferengis.
Oh, my gosh.
Know what all this is, since we're talking aliens.
Yeah.
So we got them some gigs. So that was cool. And I'm wearing a David Letterman sweater.
Nice.
I worked at NBC for a time. And so I was able to get, different things from I never worked on the David Letterman show, just to be disclaimer, but I think I picked that up from the NBC gift shop.
That's pretty amazing.
Now,
another early day one.
This makeup it hurt my brain. The mouth area. I'm like, are my eyes going right now? What's happening? What was this from?
This is from a thing. It was one of those Hallmark movie kind of things, and it was Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme is what it was called.
I remember.
And Steve Laporte, who's been, Steve Laporte was, I'll always be grateful to him. He was always kind to me and gave me opportunities and whatnot. And he had me come on to this show. So I think that's his sculpture that he had done. And I'm applying it on set. It was also what was kind of cool. They had the stray cats there.
Nice.
And they were done in cat makeups, and they were playing all day long. They'd keep playing the one same song in makeup. I don't think that they were that enchanted with it, but I did not apply their makeups. I applied, several characters, including this one here. Yeah, you can see I'm a lot younger and a lot more hair.
Yeah, you're rocking out, man. I love it.
Yeah, speaking of hair. Yeah.
Now, was this Alien Nation? Do I get that right? I remember the show. He was a cop, right?
Not this guy. Actually, I don't remember this character. He was a background character. This is really early in my career. I'm not even. I'm not in the union at this point. It was a really wonderful time when back then, where you had two TV shows shooting in LA that needed a lot of prosthetics. One was Star Trek Next Generation. The other one was Alien Nation. So back then there weren't that many people that knew how to do this kind of work. And so they would exhaust the list, and then that's when they could go off list. And I got to come on and work. Those are my early days of getting on TV shows, were Alien Nation and Star Trek. So
I got a question for that, because V. Neal talked about kind of her toe in the water and having to do hours before you could get into the union. Was that kind of your way to get into the union? Was that you had to do a certain amount of hours or something like that, right?
Yeah, everybody's path is a little different, but back then, the only way you could get in the union was you had to get 30 days on a union show. It's a safety valve, if I'll use that as an analogy, so that you don't want there to be so much supply of makeup artists versus the demand, because then it puts then you got a lot of people. You got more people than you do work.
Okay.
And the union, they're trying to protect, working conditions for their members. So the list is kind of like, okay, we've used all the people. Then okay, now we get to allow them to go off list. So like if you got more work all of a sudden, then you could do that. But getting 30 days was tricky.
Okay.
And I never could quite get 30 days. But then they came up with a new system. Back then it was called the 50-50-50 plan. So if you could show that you worked as a makeup artist, not an effects person or in a shop or called anything else, you had to be called a makeup artist. If you could show you worked 50 days a year for 3 years, then they would, you could apply.
Oh, okay.
50 days a year?
Yeah.
Wow. That's, it's got to be different now, right? I mean,
Yeah, now it's 60.
That's it. Do you only got to work 1 month out of the year to get it? You'd be vested, right? To get your hours.
Well, it's harder to do when you're, I feel for people that are trying to get in, because man, I remember how difficult it was, and it was, to get that where you figure that's 2 months. Sure, that's 2 months if you worked every day for a month, but you didn't
know you don't. Yes, clearly, yeah, you're right.
You work a few days here and you work a few days there, but it's a way for new people to come in. But if it's always a tug of war for that. But I think it wasn't until, actually, I think it might have been on that show where somebody that was in the union that was a veteran person explained to me how all that worked, and I had no idea till it did. None of it makes any sense when you look at it on face value. You have to look at it chronologically then, and you go, oh, okay, I get it. So yeah, I was lucky to go work for the folks there. Michelle Burke was the department head on set, and Rick Stratton was in charge of makeup for a makeup effect shop back then called All Effects.
Okay.
And so his company was creating all those beautiful heads that we put on.
That's cool. Some of that Star Trek stuff, because I know we've got a few Star Trek pictures in here, a number of them, in fact. And I love this because we even get into, well, we'll get just through some of these, but one of my favorites is the Klingon. This sculpt is like iconic, and it's I'd love to know kind of more about behind the scenes related to some of your Star Trek stuff, because that certainly is you've got a big toe in the water when it comes to Star Trek related to all those crazy, very iconic sculpts and makeups.
And your Emmys come from that, right? Isn't that where you got them from?
I was nominated 5 times for the Emmy. The 2 times I was lucky enough to win and get my bookends. Both of those were for Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But I started on season 3 of Next Generation, and also worked on Star Trek 6. And I did about 7 years in total, off and on, not a whole time on Star Trek. But Star Trek helped me buy my first house.
Nice.
So very thankful for Star Trek. And also too, it's from my childhood. It was my favorite TV show. So for me to be able to contribute to a franchise that was so meaningful to me, those are special.
Yeah.
That's Aaron, who played Nog, Aaron Eisenberg. We lost him just a couple of years ago. I was bummed that he passed. He was a good guy. He one of the few actors that took me out to dinner and social and appreciative. First time I ever went to Benihana's was with Aaron.
Oh, no way. Wow.
Was he in makeup? That would have been fantastic.
No. You can see on that back wall there, you can see we were sculpting. It was pretty typical for me in the mornings on Star Trek to, you do your makeups, do a couple of characters, and then they go to set. And I was one of the people that sculpted. So they would, Michael Westmore, who was my boss on that thing. He would have me sculpt, I'm sculpting aliens. So I'm sculpting the alien of the week for the next week or whatnot. So, when you got to come up with new aliens every single week, you're having to, churn out quite a bit of work. So it was cool to be able to do that.
And how appropriate that we're sculpting an alien today. Come on, this is crazy.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a question. If you had the wheel, would that have helped back then? You know what I mean? Just random alien.
Plenty of ideas, always.
Yeah, maybe it might have painted me into a corner. We're always trying to come up with something new for inspiration. I had books on saltwater fish and different things in nature that are great. Still have some of those books today, so when you go, okay, I need another alien. What's another paint scheme?
Yeah.
We've heard that from other sculptors too, where they say in these situations, especially for something that isn't human and can be whatever you want, they always go to nature. What can I take from nature and add it to something that's never been seen?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to come up with something that God hasn't already done.
Good point.
And he has so much variety of what he's created. So there's a lot to choose from. Although we were, there was a taboo one. It was taboo. There's like the executive producer, Rick Berman, was not fond of blue aliens. So it was extremely rare when we could do somebody blue.
Really?
Now look at Avatar. Somebody broke that mold.
I kind of think blue aliens and green aliens are like pretty standard, cool colored aliens.
It might have been in the old school in the 60s Star Trek, we had Andorians, and they were blue. So maybe, I don't know. It's a personal preference thing. But, hey, he's executive producer, so he gets to call the shots.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, so this one's great because it flashes right next to this this action figure with the same face, and again, I was not as big of a Star Trek fan, but I was always a fan of these characters in that program. I was always blown away by how many, especially the Next Generation and plus, they got really creative, and I mean you're a part of that. That was probably pretty exciting. Now, when they make these kind of things, is it like, do you have some of these kind of in your back room and going, yeah, that's mine. Yeah, I made it.
Well, this was really cool for me because this was another alien. It was very early days on Deep Space Nine. And it's like, okay, let me do a character. Okay, I'll give him kind of a panther nose and then maybe kind of do more of a reptile thing. You're trying to combine stuff because, you get bored from all these. And then when I saw that they had done, an action figure, I went, no way. Some guy was in a toy factory somewhere looking at pictures of my sculpture, trying to do it in miniature. I was like, that is very cool.
That is so cool.
That's a little bit of a victory lap. You're like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
So
I'm not an action figure guy, but man, I had to have that.
I'll say.
So I've heard you say before that you're more of a makeup guy, right? Like you don't have a lot of sculpting, but these pictures are of really, really good sculpts. So you can just do it all.
You're being kind. I think my sculptures were pretty feeble, but to me, as I saw sculpture as like part of the process of means to an ends of what I was trying to create characters. And so, I was fortunate to be able to, do some of that, which was really cool. In fact, some of the photos I've sent you have never been seen before because I hadn't scanned those. I had to go into my picture archive, and I thought, wow, I'm going to be on thing with Carvers and Korea. Well, I should probably pull out some of the stuff that I've sculpted. So yeah, there's some of these photos that are going to be shown, today on the show have never been seen before. This is for Star Trek VI. I was working for Richard Snell, and so it was cool. I got to do some of the work on that. Another really fantastic opportunity to be able to work with him and contribute. In fact, it was during this show. I just remembered that I finally, remember I talked about that 50-50-50 process of getting in the union. So I'm in the union. There's different levels. I was in the union as what's called an associate member. But you could work on anything that was filmed. And during this show, I finally got approved and was put on what's called the experience roster. I know these all like union technical stuff doesn't probably mean anything to anybody. Cool. But what it did, it allowed me to go on set. And this was my first motion picture of me working as a motion picture makeup artist. And I was able to apply my own sculpture onto some Klingons.
Cool. Oh, wow.
No, and as growing up as a fan, like Star Trek being one of the things that inspired you, like I can only imagine what like a full circle high-fiving yourself moment that is.
Well, it was great because that movie had all the old cast from the 60s. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the people that I grew up, watching and whatnot. So really, really fabulous experience doing that, and to work with Richard at that time too, and do this film because I think Leonard Nimoy was the executive producer on it, and yeah, all that. Dude, it's fun times.
I'll say. Did they come up to you, behind you and say, "Hey, tap you on the shoulder. You're now one of us," something like that, or was there a ceremony to it?
Nah, it was all good. This was from Voyager. You can look. I put on the damn thing crooked. It bugs me because, like, you look at the dude's nose, and here I'm drawing
Nope.
attention to my own flaws.
Nope. See, this is the beauty of aliens. Their skulls are 2 degrees off, and that's how they can be. That's how you can, get if you can figure them out from the other aliens.
That's right.
No.
Right. Always.
Yeah, it was when the first season of Voyager, which was my last hurrah for Star Trek, because I felt like 7 years I'd had enough of technobabble and all that, was ready to move on, do something different, but always grateful for the opportunity.
That's so cool. And here's those bookends.
There's those darn bookends. That's amazing.
So
man.
Tell us about this experience, like, having been nominated a bunch of times and then finally getting them. What was that? Were you there at the night that they were handed out?
Oh yeah. That was a Cinderella experience, because the first time I was nominated, I won. And,
wow.
You can be nominated a lot of times and not win. So that was like way cool. So I was pretty thrilled. And, I was part of a team that created that episode. In fact, I think it was. Yeah. It was for that one where the action figure was. It's the Hunter toss that we looked at earlier. That's my first Emmy was for that episode. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, it's great. The Emmys, it's not an Oscar. The Oscar is like much higher level, but it's a more eloquent looking award. So it's kind of neat, but yeah, it's neat. Then from that point forward, you're an award-winning makeup artist.
You're an Emmy-winning, award-winning artist. I love it.
I feel like you're selling the Emmy short. The only people that say the Emmy isn't the Oscar are people that have won Emmys. That's a pretty cool thing, man. It's like unbelievable. And 2.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to come off like I'm not appreciative of it. I had the opportunity. It was great, which is cool. Oh, weird science. Yeah, there's my pig aliens. Yeah. You know what? I don't have a picture of this. Oh, I'll talk about that in a second. So there's where I combine that for you: the picture of the sculpture and the makeup on set. Great looking wardrobe that they created for that. I really love that. So yeah, you can look at it's almost like a Ferengi nose of what is sculpted there.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that till I looked at it the other day when I scanned that for you. And I was going, yeah, it's that. And they wanted in the script, it says they kind of look like pigs. So I tried to do an alien version of a pig head. What you don't see, though, is the back of them.
Okay.
I forget why I did this. There was some sort of thing that I was not happy about. The back of the head looks like a penis.
I can see it.
Picture, look at the back of his head where it's like out there, and then the top there's like this little
oh boy, okay.
When you saw them from the back, they look like a penis. So they never shot those guys from the back as a result of that.
That's hilarious. And if you gave them like the pack of hot dogs that some people have on like the back fold of the neck, oh god, that would sell completely.
Oh yeah.
It was all that thing. By the way, I'm cheating. I'm switching it up.
Whoa! Look at that glass.
Hey, wait! Before I forget to ask, you what was in that that special you had before? What was the second? What was the liqueur you said you put in that? It was
the Zach special. It's Sheena.
Yeah, what? No, that's the one. What? I don't think I know is Sheena. What is that?
It's a French liqueur. It's kind of an Amaro, kind of like the French version of what the Italians do.
Okay.
It's Sheena liqueur. It's bourbon and some Nocino, which is a walnut liqueur. By the way, this is a Blade Runner rocks glass.
Ooh, so there's a badass glass.
I just got this recently, so I'm digging it.
Oh, that is so cool.
And it has Zacapa 23 rum.
Hey, wait a minute. I think as you were talking about that, we had a comment come in. Looks like the one in Blade Runner.
Cool glass.
Cool glass. Kind of like one from Blade Runner. Look at there. Somebody's savvy.
I gotta watch Blade Runner again.
Good one for paper and think.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me zoom in on it so our friends can see that cool glass here. Hang on.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm still in the honeymoon phase of having one of these. Blade Runner is one of my favorite films in the whole world.
I love it.
I got to go to see a pre-release screening of that at the Motion Picture Academy.
Oh wow!
Before it came out back in 1982, and man, that movie blew me away. And it's been one of my favorite films ever since.
Well, because you talk about, I think we have something in here with Ruger. Oh, well, what do you know? Look at that timing.
Well.
I mean,
nice segue. That was good.
That was amazing. Well done, sir. That was great.
And I didn't ask him about Blade Runner whatsoever the whole time. And if you believe that, I'll tell you another.
It's the natural progression of things.
Exactly. I love it. What was he like to work with? Because he was always, when I was a kid, the coolest dude, like almost creepy cool. Like he was like,
he never played a good guy.
No, but just like
not true.
Really?
Nighthawks. Yeah, Nighthawks, where he plays that duality thing. There's Matthew Broderick that's in that. Who plays opposite him? The leading lady is Michelle Pfeiffer.
I forgot about that movie.
And he's a knight, and they can never be together, where she is a bird during the day and he's a wolf at night or something like that. But it was a curse thing, so he's a good guy in that. And is it Nighthawks? It's Lady Hawk. Sorry.
Lady Hawk. You're right. That's it.
There's 2 movies he has that are hawks. There's Lady Hawk and Nighthawk. Nighthawk he did with Sylvester Stallone. I can't remember if he was a good guy or a bad guy now. He was a good guy in some of those.
Okay.
You're telling me he was a good guy in a movie with Sylvester Stallone?
I can't remember.
Like he's the perfect bad guy for a Sylvester Stallone movie.
I think you're right. I think it is, where he has played bad guy in a number of things.
He's so good at it. He used to scare the hell out of me as a kid.
Yeah. He couldn't be that.
He's got his range in there. It was really cool to work. I worked with him on an HBO movie that I never saw. I can't even think of the name of it right now, but I was thrilled to get to work with him on that. He's wearing a bald cap in this shot, and it's a wig. So that's kind of cool. And then I created, a little bit of and then obviously the burn in the back, because there's a whole fire thing. He is playing a bad guy in that movie, and he catches on fire. And we got cone heads. There we go.
Yeah. Speaking of bald caps, I mean, come on.
Now I'm probably wrong, but that's not Emilio Estevez, right? It's been driving me nuts. But how much
in the upper left corner? You mean?
Doesn't he look like Emilio Estevez with a cone head?
It does, but his face is a little off. But that's what I first thought for a second too.
No, that guy's a stunt circus performer. He was in the. I made some good money on that movie. It was great. Not only did I do the movie, I did actually the makeup tests and did the movie. And then after the movie was over, I was still making money on it because I did the Red Hot Chili Peppers music video for Soul to Squeeze.
Yep.
And also did some other things. There was just Coneheads just kind of kept going, different gigs I could do for that. And then also as a result of being there, there we go. I got to do, Anthony wanted me to create this Medusa makeup for him. So I had to create all these vinyl snakes that go on his head. It's like a cap. I wish I still had that cap. That was all those in there.
Was that like 90s, like Blood Sugar Sex Magic? Was that
No, it's after that, I think. It's after that.
I don't know.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic, I think, is like their second album, or third album.
Okay, I'm trying to think of.
They had a lot of albums.
Videos. Remember all the videos back then? That was like the big thing, and you don't see a whole lot of videos anymore. I just didn't know when. Yeah,
the guy next to me there is the snake wrangler, so that he was putting like real snakes in with my fake snakes. Kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Well of Souls thing. So you'd have a few snakes going through there, and you think, oh man, they're all real.
Wow. So you individually made, you sculpted, cast, and produced every snake in that. See, that's what I'm saying. Like you're just a monster maker, man. You're a complete monster maker.
I like to think I'm a storyteller. So it's like what you asked earlier, like you said, you see yourself as a makeup guy. I think I see myself as a storyteller. So it's like whatever set I would go on, it's like, oh, it's Michael the bald cap guy, or Michael the beard guy, or Michael the teeth guy, or the Michael who's the the beauty guy. And they were always trying to put me in a box.
Yeah, but you know what you are? You're the guy that can be brought onto a set, and whatever puzzle piece they need, you can fit that piece. Because you know how to do
none of this work that's on screen right now did I have anything to do with.
I thought you did. I'm pretty sure you did Melting Man.
No, I did not. That's Bart Mixon that's in that photo.
Oh, Bart Mixon did that. Yeah,
Rob Bottin design and there's Vince Prentice down there in the corner too. I have nothing to do with this work, but I think it's fantastic though.
You know what's funny is I was going through your social media and found this on your social media, so that's my fault. And I read it was a nice story that went with it, and
that was
you know what? You're so generous. You're so generous. You shared somebody else's story, and I'm like, Jesus, he's done everything.
No,
I mean, we've had Bart on, and we talked about RoboCop, so I thought that would have been a good tie-in. Look at that, Maddie. I know. I swung and I missed.
Now that one I did do.
This is probably in everybody's top 10 for movies too. I mean, God in heaven, that's such a good movie. The Who's. Such a cool makeup.
Yeah, it was great to contribute to that. It's me and Oscar winner Gail Ryan. She's the hairdresser for that. And Billy Sutter is the guy who did this Frozen makeup on. And Billy was known for, he did all these AT&T commercials where he was Charlie Chaplin. I don't know if you guys go back far enough. AT&T did a whole slew of commercials with Billy being Charlie Chaplin. Anyway, they wanted me to do the Frozen Who, and fortunately, poor Billy ended up on the editing room floor for this movie. But there was a scene that we did up by the clock and whatnot. And it was a cool scene because it was just Billy, myself, Ron Howard directing, and the camera guy. It was a very tight, because it was a tight area, and Billy had this great line where it's still cold, and they didn't keep it, but that was one of many Who's that I did. Whoville, that was like kind of like being on the Wizard of Oz.
I'd imagine that must have been incredible. Now let me ask you a question: did you lobby to make yourself kind of a background Who? That must no, not even once. Oh man.
I was busy being, taking care of things behind the camera.
Yeah,
this is off in London. This is with the great Nick Dudman, who's a wonderful human. And we're behind a stage at, is it Leavesden Studios, I think? And we're there with this unicorn. Can't see the horn because it's cropped off in this particular photo. Yeah. But for issue 35 of Makeup Artist Magazine, we shot, I guess that unicorn was used in the first Harry Potter film. And we were there while they were shooting the second one. But so they allowed us to do a photo shoot with the unicorn, which was great. The whole thing was silicon.
What?
Oh, way
heavy. The entire thing. And it was heavy. They had to bring it out on a big cart and to lay it down. And it was obviously enormously heavy. This dead unicorn that's in the first film. And so we shot it, and it was cold. It was bitterly cold, and the wind was blowing. I think it was January or February in England. So if you've ever been, it's not favorable weather. But the sun was out, and we color corrected it so it looks like it's just beautiful and warm. And Nick is freezing his ass off.
That's color corrected. I love it.
The grass was wet, and he's laying in it, and so he's getting kind of wet, and he's just trying to be,
He's acting like he's not shivering right now. Yeah,
he was a good sport when they allowed us to do that.
That was hurry up and take the picture moment.
Yeah.
Another makeup that I have nothing to do with. This is
this is a Photoshop tie-in.
No.
So it's
not my work.
Listen, are you running your own? I'm telling you, running your own Instagram, because all this is coming off your Instagram, and I did a deep dive, and I was enjoying the hell out of it. I got to tell you, it was fantastic.
You got to look and see if I'm going, hey, check out this person's work, or check out that person's work.
One thing I love about
capitalizing things, so I know.
One thing I love about that picture, kind of segue, because we talked yesterday, kind of in the pre-show, we were talking about computer makeup design.
We
can kind of jump to that, because I know you were more of a pioneer. I'd love to hear that story, because I know we're certainly going to talk about your magazine, because we'll flip through some things here. But I know I'd love that story about you kind of the first time seeing it and what you were doing.
I will. This since you have it up, this is a makeup that was done at IMATS New York by Neil Gorton from England and Josh Turry. So you had an American and a Brit tag teaming and doing this makeup on stage, which came out so good. It was really, really fun.
Yeah,
in reference to the computer makeup design that you're talking about, I was a very early adopter of that. It happened when I was working for Rick Baker on Gremlins 2, and I was walking down a hallway in the shop and some room, and Rick was in there, and I saw on a TV screen a really cool looking creature, like this very elaborate looking thing. And I said, "Hey, that's cool. What movie is that from?" And he said, "It's not. It's a design of a makeup I did on the computer." And I go, "What?" And I looked closer, then I realized it's not an actual photograph. And he said, "Yeah, I use this program called Photoshop." And not heard of it. And I was very inspired. I went, "Wow, this is an incredible visual communication tool to be able to come up with design." So it was much better than doing like the old school way of doing painting on acetate and doing all that. This is far better. So I flung myself headlong into that and started on Photoshop 2.0 and kind of learned how to do that, and was able to teach some other makeup artists how to do it, even some notable award winners, and help other makeup artists too, that to be able to create makeup. So I did it for a time. I was actually, my stuff looks pretty crude in that. I was just early. It was
early on. Yeah. Everything got modernized recently. I'm sure it'd be a different story now, but yeah, that's so cool. And then when it comes to your magazine, we have a few other pictures here. Tell us about getting that thing ramped up, and you certainly have a complete body of work that is just insane and related to the magazine.
It seems like the late 90s for you was a huge, I don't know if you call it a light bulb moment, but you put the gears in motion to really revolutionize and bring to the forefront makeup artists.
Yeah, I decided to, there was two things I was doing. One is I decided to take over something the union was doing that I thought that was really cool. It wasn't political. It was called the craft meetings. Not that you were weaving baskets or anything. It's just an antiquated union word. It's where, kind of the best people in the world come and talk about technique and product. And I thought that was like really cool. So I kind of took over that because I valued it so much, and other people weren't. So I started doing those events, took those over for the union. And through that, what came out of that was my idea to do a magazine for makeup artistry. I thought it was crazy that, makeup is $1 billion industry. All of makeup, not just movie makeup. But there's nothing that was celebrating makeup artistry like American Cinematographer magazine. I loved those magazines, the films that were covered and other things like that. So while I was being a makeup artist, I thought I can do this on the side. I can just do this on my desk over here. It won't be a big deal. Totally underestimating how much was involved to do that. And also not realizing what I was setting into motion. I didn't realize when I first put that out there that it was going to resonate with makeup artists around the world, actually. And what I thought was this little thing I was going to do on the side slowly but surely kind of took over my career. But it was cool for me to be able to celebrate the great work that's being done and to bring attention to it, to point and say, "Hey, check this out. This is what we're seeing," and to celebrate my colleagues and to celebrate makeup artistry.
So I think it's amazing what you did. It really did change the landscape. Really, it gave people you never saw the person that did the makeup, right? It was always almost anonymous. Even if you knew the person's name, you had no idea who they were. And I think you put a face to the work, which it changed things. People knew who people were. You opened up a whole new. You were the internet for makeup artists, basically. As soon as that magazine came out, right? Like, there's a face, there's the work. It's fantastic.
This is a good question, actually. How did the magazine reach people outside your circle?
Well, it was an interesting time. Mid-90s, the internet was in its infancy, and the fact that we had a website, it's like cool. I mean, it was a big deal to have a website.
Sure.
You know, there's like, okay, Coca-Cola has a website, and you know, it was a lot of big corporations didn't even have websites yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been an embracer of technology. I've always thought that. So right away, we got a website and got up and running. It probably sounds ridiculous to people, you know, younger people right now. So of course you had a website.
Yeah.
Well, no, we did do that.
Back then it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
But there was no social media, and so one of our challenges is that the Hollywood makeup artists were my tribe. So they quickly found, they knew that I had a magazine because, you know, within tribal communication, we were able to spread that. But I kept thinking, wow, what would it be like if we could just let every makeup artist in the world know that there's a magazine? It seems like we would be doing so much better if that would be the case. Mm-hmm. So I was always kind of looking for that moment. So we took ads in Cinefix magazine. Don Shea, the publisher of that I loved that magazine and still do. So that helped a little bit. And we took an ad or two in Fangoria magazine because that was where some makeup artistry was being celebrated, because Forey Ackerman's famous Monsters of Filmland was already defunct. And so we're trying to find ways to be able to let people know that we existed. And it did catch on. It was cool. And when we added we launched the IMAT show, International Makeup Artist Trade Show. Mm-hmm. We did that first one in 1997, and we did the first one in London in 2002. And so that helped a whole lot. It helped us to go global. This is from, let's see, where are we? I think this is New York. We partnered with the great Kazuhiro Tuji and Deborah Weeks and Juliet Landau. They created this documentary called Dream Out Loud, with the kind of the center conversation piece being the Lincoln bust that Kazu created. And so we took a Lincoln bust around the world. We ended up showing it in all the IMAT shows around the world. We showed the bust and the film, which is great. And Deborah Weeks is just a great friend anyway. He's been shooting Makeup Artist magazine since almost the beginning.
Wow.
This is probably one of your many interviews at IMATs, or is this?
No, this is actually one of the rare times like this where I'm actually being interviewed, which is usually I'm the guy doing the interviewing. This was for a documentary called Making Apes.
Yes, I just watched it.
That was with
the other day.
Tom Berman, who's still with it, which is great. There's not that many artists that were from Planet of the Apes, and he had such a significant role in that. So this is actually at Tom and Barry, his wife. It's at their home in Santa Barbara, and they were kind to include me to be a part of their documentary.
We were lucky to have Rob on here, and he just spoke a lot about his dad and his work in the industry, which is also tremendous. But what a full circle. That's crazy cool. That's really neat.
Look at this guy. He even does know. He even does know.
That was an interesting one. I live in Vancouver, Washington now. Have since 2004, and a few years of living into here. There we get snow like 1 or 2 days a year.
That's crazy.
We got a pretty good snow, and I thought, my kids were really young. I thought, hey, maybe let's make a snowman. So it starts that way. I think, okay, we'll make a snowman. Going, well, we can't do just the dumb snowman with just the three kind of ball shapes.
That's like Paul and I and pumpkins. They're like, hey, let's make a pumpkin. Let's make a jack-o'-lantern. No, come on. Yeah. Next thing you know.
So at first I thought, well, maybe we'll do the Statue of Liberty. That'll be kind of cool. So I started making a body, and as I was doing it, I thought, well, wait a minute, this is right like days before Christmas. I thought, well, this is almost Jesus's birthday. Maybe we should, let's honor him. So and also I was thinking about the arm too for the Statue of Liberty. That would be a little more
a nightmare.
Yeah, a little bit of a nightmare.
Well, that's when you take the stick that fell with the heavy snow off the tree, and you got to plug it in. You got to plug it into there. Now,
exactly.
Listen, if you ever need help, I'll tell you how to use fallen limbs to incorporate into your snow sculptures. I live in the worst place in the world for snow.
So back to IMATs. I think this is the thing where I look at each one of these iconic characters and just like shudder. Now, tell us about this picture.
This picture is great. It's one of my favorite pictures of. At IMATs, we always have what's called the museum. That's what I call it, and it's a opportunity to show these kind of artifacts of makeup artistry. Much of it being makeup effects. And this was one of the high water marks for me. It's my good friend, Mike Hill. And he pulled together, because he makes these things and he sells them. And so, but he was able to get enough people that he had sold these to bring those together. And so we had this great collection of Mike Hill sculptures and creations. It was also, too, the one time that we rented all these set pieces from Universal Studios.
Oh, wow, that's what.
So who knows? That one on the left could really be from one of the famous monsters, Universal monster movies,
Seriously.
whatnot. Oh, it was a pain in the ass. We never did it again because it was they're too big to fit into the room.
I'm surprised Guillermo doesn't own that Frankenstein, or does he?
He might. If he doesn't, I'm sure he has one.
He probably has half of that stuff. No, that guy.
Seriously, I want to know who owns. Does Rick own the Rick Baker setup? Because that's holy moly.
The Wolfman. Yeah. Imagine.
Good.
This is what I've been waiting for. What is the story behind this picture? I love it.
This was a fabulous, really fun. This was in London, England. It's 2014, and I think it was Mold Life's booth at my show, and they had this great photo op with the zombie thing and that thing in there, and there's the gun that's stuck to the back of it. All you have to do is walk up, put your hand on the gun.
So the angle matches, right? Perfect.
Yeah. So I told my my assistant, I said, "Oh, I got to get a picture with this. I got to do it. I got to do it." So and so I got behind there and made a face and I said, "Okay, shoot it like this," and so we got it.
It's perfect. If I were you, I would have superimposed the family into this picture and had little ornaments coming out of the zombie's head and sent it as my Christmas card. Why not?
Very cool.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We're about 3 minutes out. You have a million. I mean, in fact,
you know what, Maddie?
3-part series. What do you think,
Maddie? I'm thinking for Mr. Michael Key here, we can go a couple minutes long if that's okay. Mr. Key, let's go through the deck. I think there's some amazing stuff that the people need to see because, guy's amazing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is
and there's other folks that agree with you. Here's Scott.
Transcendent.
Couldn't agree more.
That's a T-shirt if I ever seen one. Mr. Key is amazing. Transcendent.
It's very kind. Very kind.
I love it.
This photo is kind of our Vanity Fair thing we did as the 20th anniversary of Makeup Artist Magazine. We wanted to be able to kind of celebrate. That's what we do. It's a celebration of makeup artistry. So this is the image that we did as a trifold cover. And we have makeup artists that were shot in LA, New York, and London for this. And it's a range of beauty people to makeup effects and everything in between. So we just wanted, we had an idea of certain leaders. We couldn't get everybody. I mean, it'd be great if we could have had even more. But these are the ones that we chose. And wow, what a who's who of makeup.
Seriously.
You look at it, you're like, this is the who's who of makeup. It's just staggering, all these people in this picture. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too, where you, like you said, you can't get everybody, but imagine if you could. It would be like looking at a photo of the Grand Canyon, honestly. Like it would be way too many people in the picture. It's just generation after generation of people that inspire the next person, that inspire the next person. And it's what a hard choice. Everybody in that photo is legendary.
It was a neat year, where we celebrated this the entire year, the 20th anniversary, and some people came out. This photo is at the Motion Picture Academy at the I forgot the name of the theater. It's where they do the Bake Off, which is the funny word they have for when you're voting for nomination for who's going to be nominated for the Academy Award for makeup and hair. This was a special night we did to honor Dick Smith.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
And it was a beautiful night where, Dick was getting on in years and whatnot. And so it's not too often as a makeup artist receives something like this to be acknowledged. And to be celebrated in this way. And I'm really glad that we were able to do that for him. And so it's there's another who's who of makeup, especially prosthetic makeup, that's on that stage, and I'm honored to have been included for that.
Yeah, it's a great photo. I spent it looks like a high school photo, doesn't it? Like a graduated class of amazing artists. It's
the top of the top. Yeah,
it's very fun to look at. Here's a little Bohemian Rhapsody. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is one of our very cool Makeup Artist Magazine Pro Card events. We did this in London. We work with studios that have films that are being considered. Actually, usually they're in the running by then to be. They're nominated for the Oscar for makeup, and we did Bohemian Rhapsody in L.A. and London. There's my friend Jan Sewell, who makes me look tall, except for the fact that Chris is there, and Chris is so damn tall. He kind of he neutralizes her, and Rami Malek, of course, who showed up, who did a surprise showing up for that. It was awesome that he was there to support Jan because he was so appreciated the makeup and how much it contributed to his being acknowledged.
That made the character. I had, everything that, absolutely.
Yeah, don't sell his performance shirt too. Like a great makeup can transform you. You know what I mean? A great makeup transforms you.
It was an incredible performance. Speaking of incredible performances, this is another screening we did, another Pro Card event that we did for The Darkest Hour. We did that in Los Angeles, and so we have the makeup team once again, Kazuhiro and David and Lucy, who applied the makeup for Kazu on set, and we got Gary Oldman, which is a wonderful
that little guy. Yeah.
So that was very, very cool.
Let's see.
Where'd he go? He just disappeared. Did you just kick him out?
Nope.
Oh, he's back. Hey, look at that.
What was it, something I said? Did I mess up?
Wait, hang on a second. I think I know what I did.
You know what? I'll tell you what, Michael. I'll tell you what he did. He had an old fashioned.
I had an old
fashioned.
The Luxardo cherries.
Look at him! Look at him flailing, panicking.
Well, I think that he's doing a great job of multitasking. He's sculpting.
He is,
and he's trying to moderate this and do the rest of it.
Thank
you.
And
he's also being tested. I have to give him a grade after. It's fine.
Yeah, I get.
He was getting an A. Now he's gonna get like a B+. Yeah. Now this is another amazing photo. Yeah, my God.
It is an amazing photo. This is cool. This is IMATS LA just a few years ago. We did a Hellboy panel. And Doug Jones is what a great guy. I've known Doug since way, way, way back. First worked with him on a Marilyn Manson music video that I got looped into doing. Wow. There's a whole story with that. We don't have time for it though. I'll tell it.
We'll do it.
I've known Doug a long time.
I love it.
And all the rest of these guys that contributed to Hellboy, and Ron Perlman came, which is awesome. He's such a rebellious dude. He was really fun to have, and that was a great panel. Just one of the things that we get to do is we get to pull people together and do something old, something new. And there they are at IMATS LA.
Where is IMATS this year again?
It will be at, there it is. There's a picture of us on stage having that conversation. Yeah. It's at the Pasadena Convention Center. I've been doing it in LA there since 1998. Here's another panel. This is, let's see, who do we got here? This must be Star Trek, the first J.J. Abrams one that Joel Harlow did. And that's his team from that, which has some of the same people. In fact, it is that one because there's I'm blanking on her name. I've got an enormous the cover of her on there. She's the fish or the shell head alien that Joel did, I think, which is epic. So it was great to have all of them. So we do that. That's one of the things that we do with IMATS.
You get to live long.
In fact, in January we're doing that for Dune 2. We're doing Oppenheimer. And other films that we're doing. Usually people that are in the running for the Oscar, we get a chance to do that. This one is another Pro Card event. Go back. That's the one, our Hollywood Awards celebration. We usually do that the day of the Bake Off. So the vote has just happened for who's going to get nominated for the Oscar. And this was one year, and there's Howard Berger and there's Louvet and Eva from Sweden. We're in a film. There's Dave and Lou Elsie. It's people at the top of their game. So it's cool that we get our members and get a chance for them to rub shoulders when they all come together from around the world at that one time.
Unbelievable, man. Seriously.
Great memories. Speaking of great memories, Saturday Night Live, we did a 40th anniversary party for people that have been making folks look funny for 40 years.
That's so cool. And there's been some good ones.
Those are all makeup artists that worked on Saturday Night Live throughout the 40 years, except for the one fellow in the back. He's actually an actor. It was cool.
Yeah, no, I see him right in the middle there. I forget his name. He's funny as hell too.
I'm blanking on him, but he's a good dude. He's actually, not all actors are. Actors will do their duty, but he's a good guy.
Well, he's a stand-up comedian, I think, by trade too, right? So, he knows what it's like. He's a normal guy.
Back to Star Trek again. This was our Star Trek television reunion panel we did. People that contributed to Star Trek over the years.
There's a little tie-in with Matt Winston.
Yeah, Matt Winston. There's a good human. He's
such a nice guy. And we had him on as Winston Studios, but our photo that we used was Matt on the show.
Nice. Yeah,
we had to tie it in.
In fact, Matt was kind enough when we did our 20th anniversary party at IMAX LA. Him and Mackenzie Westmore were MCs for that. It was great. Yeah. Here's another one celebrating this. This is our American Werewolf in London panel that we did.
Oh my gosh.
Rick,
that's the panel of all panels right there.
John Landis, Tom Hester.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Awesome.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's transition to what a rock star you are.
Where did you get that?
Listen, man, something that Matt and I enjoy is an artist that isn't just one thing. You are just a creative, right? Carvers ain't creative. So we have the perfect guest on tonight. You are also a musician on top of being a creator. Matt and I are drummers who have played pretty much our entire adult life in bands. So we love a good guitarist.
Awesome. That's it's me playing my trusty Les Paul. Playing at church, and I'm a weekend warrior for Jesus, and I also play in a cover band. So my first love is actually music.
That's so cool.
It's that whole thing of not being able to. Your brain tells you got to do something cool, right? You got to do something cool. This might be my favorite photo that I've ever seen of one single person, because
that the gate and everybody else behind.
How'd you get everybody's attention? Number one.
I just yell, "Hey, everybody!" Everybody wants to come inside. This is the line. Let me give context to this. This is at IMAX New York. So everybody's about ready to come into the show, and everybody wants to come in. You're waiting in line. Think of anything that you've waited in line for. It's like, you want somebody to open the door. So somebody comes up. It's like, do we get to come in? I say, hey, everybody, let's take a picture. We're about ready to let you in, blah, blah, blah. And I say, put a peace sign. I'm going to let you guys in. And so they were kind enough to humor me. Let's humor the guy so we can get inside.
Oh, it's a great photo, man. Well, that's what made me ask the question, where was IMAX this year? Because it is an international thing. And Matt and I have been to the Pasadena Convention Center, where we met you at the hotel, and your knowledge of spirits inspired your guest appearance tonight, and we do appreciate that. I believe the universe works in mysterious ways, and it was such a great thing. So we want to thank you again for coming on to the show. It's been an honor. I would love to have you back, because we have so many more things to talk about and so many stories to share.
We scratched the surface tonight, I think.
Just scratch the. Oh my goodness! He's an onion. You got to peel the layers. There's so many things, Michael P. So obviously, IMAX.net and at Michael Key Real. Where else can we find you? Let's make sure that people can find you.
Sure, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, IMATS.net. Kind of all roads lead there of what we're doing with the show. Fellas, thank you for having me on. Thanks for. Hey, do we get to see your sculptures? Or we have to wait till next week?
Oh yeah, you know what, Maddie, Mike.
Can you see those?
I like the Black Manhattan. Just so you know, it's Gonzo. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got to do the 4 dashes of bitters. Well, here's where you can find us. Obviously, you know where we are. We're on all the little icons. Tell a friend, subscribe, like, follow, and honestly, Maddie, how do we thank Michael enough? Seriously, for joining us.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'd love to have you on again anytime.
Awesome, fellas. Happy to do so. Have a good night. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good night, guys.
You too. Hey, so from myself, Matt, and Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Tune in next week for another Carvers and Creators, guys. So good night, everybody.
Yeah.